Hi guys, and welcome to another video. Today we are continuing with our grade 12 paper 1 preparation, and we are doing the 2025 SUP paper. So in this question we have been given a straight line function here as well as a exponential function. Okay, now if you would like to do this paper together with me from the beginning to the end, I've put all the videos in a playlist, as you can see here, starting from question 1 all the way to the end. So what I would suggest you do is click on the link in the description or in the comments. I'll pin a link to this playlist so that you can start from question 1 and work your way through to the end. And I think that that is going to be excellent preparation for your paper 1. Okay, so 6.3 gives us an exponential equation, f of x equals 2 to the power of x minus 4, and gx equals mx plus c. Now they tell us in 6.3 that g to the minus 1, the inverse of g, passes through b, and they want us to determine the equation of g. So what we have to remember about an inverse is an inverse means you swap x and y. Okay, so they tell us that the inverse goes through point B. Okay, so the important part about B is that it is a coordinate where x is 0 and y is minus 3. Now, if the inverse passes through B, then the g will pass through the inverse of this point. In other words, swap x and y. So if we swapped x and y, this point would become negative 3 and 0. So I've made the y the x and the x the y. And that now gives us 2 points on the line G. We now know that this point here is negative 3 and 0. So we now know that E is negative 3, 0. So we have 2 points on G, and we can get the equation of G. So we remember that G, I'm going to write it here, G is equal to mx plus c, right? And where G, actually, let me just put G of x. Okay, so we know G of x stands for y, and the x plus, and then c, right? So I'm going to do the m in pink and the c in blue, just so that we can see what's going on. Right, so I can figure out my m because I have 2 points, right? I have, we'll call A the x1 and x and y1. So that'll be x1, y1. And then this point E will be our x2, y2, right? So m is equal to change in y, so y1, which is 4, minus our y2, which is 0, over our x1, which is 3, and our x2, which is minus 3. And we get 4 over 6, which is 2 over 3. Now we can use either of the points in order to sub back into the equation to get what c is. Right, so let's just use our point A, right? So the y value is going to be 4, right? So for g of x, which is another way of saying y, right? So this is y. So we make that 4, right? Equals, and then our m is 2 over 3. We've worked that out. Now our x is going to be that 3, isn't it? Okay. Plus c, right? Plus c. And so now we can figure out what c is. Okay, well, when we times these two together, the 3's cancel. When we take the 2 across, it becomes minus 2. So 4 minus 2 is equal to 2. And so we know our c is 2. And now we can write out the equation. Y equals our m, which is 2 over 3. Our x, oops, that's a 3 there. Our x plus the 2. And that is done. Okay, plus the 2. Now for the next question, I'm just going to leave this equation here, and I'm just going to leave our equation g. Okay. So g of x now we know is mx plus c. So I'm going to change that y to just a g of x so we know what we are talking about, because in the next question, I have a feeling that they are going to now ask for the inverse. Okay, so we'll leave the points here. Okay, so remember for your exam, when you ask for the inverse, simply just swap x and y. Okay, so let's go on to 6.4. Yes, indeed, it asks for the inverse. Okay, so now we simply, when we want the inverse, what do? We swap x and y. Right, so now our y, which is our g of x, becomes our x, and our x becomes our y. Okay, so wherever we see the g of x, we're going to put what? We're going to swap these, right? So I'm going to say now x equals 2 over 3 y plus 2. So what have I done? I've swapped x and y. You see that? Because remember, g of x is actually just y, another way of saying y. The reason they do that, guys, f of x, g of x, they don't just say y, is because otherwise how would you know which y we're talking about? So we call it fg, and another one we could call it, we can call it h, and that just allows us then to have multiple functions on the same Cartesian plane. Okay, so now that we've done that, we have to then get y the subject of the formula. Okay, so the easiest way to do that, let's take the 2 across, and so we'll get minus 2, and so we'll have x minus 2 equals 2 over 3y. Okay, 2 over 3y. Now, just to speed things up a bit, I'm going to stop with the colors now that we've kind of see what we are doing. Okay, and so now to get y by itself, let's times by 3 over 2. Because that will then mean that these will cancel, leaving us with just y. Okay, so times the x by 3 over 2 and the 2 by 3 over 2, right? And so we'll get y equals 3 over 2x. The 2's cancel and we get minus 3. Now we want to just write that as g dash of x now. Okay, so what I'm going to do, now that we've done that, I'm going to erase this because I can use this g, and I can see not g dash, g to the minus 1 of x is equal to 3 over 2x minus 3. Okay, and that is our answer for 6.4. All right, now let's go on to the next one. Okay, perfect. We are now on question 7. So I'm going to clear all this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask you guys to pause this video, try and do this question on your own. In the next video, what I'm going to be doing is this question and then the rest of question 7, because we are now onto a new section, financial maths. I hope these videos are helping. If I've earned your subscription or your like or a comment, I hope I have. Please do so, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.